Hi, this is Tom Sheehy with the Sheehy Strategy Group here in Sacramento, California. As artificial intelligence continues to reshape the modern workplace, policymakers are right to consider guardrails that would promote transparency and fairness, both to consumers as well as businesses. However, Assembly Bill 1898 by Assemblymember Schultz, a Democrat from Southern California, it seeks to regulate workplace artificial intelligence tools, and it ultimately misses the mark. While well-intentioned, AB 1898, as currently drafted in March of 2026, it would impose sweeping and impractical requirements that risk undermining innovation, creating operational gridlock, and exposing employers to significant legal and security risks. One thing's for sure, California employers don't need new ways to be sued by trial lawyers, and unfortunately, this bill would open that door to more litigation. At its core, AB 1898 casts far too wide of a net. The bill applies to virtually any tool that assists in employment-related decisions, capturing not only high-risk AI systems, but also routine, low-risk technologies such as scheduling software and basic human resource platforms. Employers would be required to provide extensive notice to all of their employees for even the most minimal or indirect uses of these tools, along with annual disclosures detailing every applicable system they have that could be used across the organization. The result of all this is predictable. It would be a flood of notices to employees that are costly to produce, keep track of, and difficult for employers to meaningfully interpret, and ultimately it would be counterproductive. Sound familiar? Just like a lot of other California regulations. Even more concerning are the bill's implications for confidentiality and cybersecurity. AB 1898 would mandate disclosure of highly sensitive operational details, including how systems function, how data is stored, and even the identities of individuals who have access to this data. Such requirements risk exposing trade secrets and proprietary systems, while simultaneously creating a roadmap for bad actors seeking to exploit vulnerabilities. At a time when cybersecurity threats are growing more sophisticated, this approach is both risky and unnecessary. AB 1898 also introduces a fundamentally unworkable provision by requiring that every employee and independent contractor acknowledge and sign off on these disclosures before any employer can deploy a covered tool. In practice, this gives any single individual the ability to delay or effectively block the implementation of workplace technologies. This sounds like a Senate filibuster back in Washington. The organizations that rely on large or transient workforces, particularly those that engage in independent contractors, this requirement creates an untenable operational bottleneck. It is simply going to be a train wreck if it is enacted. Compounding these challenges, the bill establishes a private right of action, which is going to invite costly litigation over what are likely to be ambiguous and technical compliance requirements. This is a trial lawyer's dream and a way for them to send their kids to graduate school. This will disproportionately impact small businesses and public agencies, which are the least equipped to absorb the costs of these types of legal disputes and litigation. The inclusion of independent contractors in this legislation further complicates the bill. Contractors are governed by fundamentally different legal frameworks than employees, and extending these requirements to them dramatically expands the compliance burden while conflicting with established legal distinctions. Finally, absent clear statewide preemption, AB 1898 opens the door to a patchwork of local regulations, creating inconsistent standards that will be difficult, if not impossible, for multi-location employers to navigate. Imagine having a different set of rules in San Francisco than in San Jose, and those different than Sacramento, and those different than Fresno or Bakersfield. And then you have Los Angeles doing its own thing. And what about Orange County, and what about San Diego? You get the picture? If you're an employer with multiple locations in the state, this is just a totally unworkable nightmare. And this type of legislation simply must be amended to make sure that we're going to have a consistent interpretation of the law and application of the law in all jurisdictions of the state. There is a better path forward. Policymakers should focus on high-risk applications of AI, such as decisions involving hiring, discipline, or termination. Disclosure requirements should be carefully tailored to protect sensitive information and unworkable provisions, such as the unanimous signature requirement. That should be eliminated. Independent contractors should be excluded altogether, and any framework should ensure uniformity across the entire state of California to eliminate the patchwork possibility, which is just unworkable. Transparency in workplace AI is an important goal, but it must be pursued in a way that is practical, secure, and supportive of innovation. Until these issues are addressed, AB 1898 warrants opposition unless it's amended to address them. In Sacramento, this is Tom Sheehy for the Sheehy Strategy Group. Thanks for listening.